Hi, this is Philip Mason with Incredible Fathers. I'm really excited to be with you here today. So I had the question come up, what steps can I take to be a proactive parent? Can we go in more depth on that? And of course we can. That's a huge topic. It's very vast, and there's been many books written on it. But I just wanted to outline 3 important things that you can do to kind of get started with being a proactive parent. So the very first thing is actually changing the way that you feel about your child or your children. Now, this may sound soft and it may sound not very practical, but you know what? You have control over your feelings. You have control over what you think. And you can actually decide and make up your mind today, now, this very moment, how you're going to feel about things and how you're going to act. And you can make a very conscious choice to choose how you feel about your children. And I find that this is very transformational for a lot of people. And for me personally, how I act and how I feel are one and the same. So how I'm feeling usually determines how I'm going to act. So as a parent, how I'm feeling a lot of times determines how I act towards my children. Now, as my character improves, usually, even if I'm feeling poorly, I still try to act as good as I can and as well as I can towards my children, and it that pays a dividend for sure. And so I just want you to think about that and kind of dissect that in your own mind and analyze your own behaviors and think about it, write about it, ponder over it, maybe even discuss it with your children or your spouse and find out what it is that you can do to change how you feel about your children. So our feelings are very powerful, our emotions are very powerful, and we can use them to help us change how we feel about others. And for me personally, prayer is a very important thing, and my relationship with God helps me determine how I act and treat others, especially my own family members and my children in particular. So the second thing I want to talk about now is you can actually change, and you should change, how you feel about your role as a parent. And this is very critical if you want to be successful as a parent. If you're feeling negative or you're feeling unresponsive to your role as a parent, or you feel like you're becoming complacent, then now's the time to look really hard at yourself and how you feel about your role as a parent. I know a lot of fathers and a lot of mothers who see themselves as a diaper changer. They see themselves as a dishwasher. They see themselves as someone who's there to wipe noses. And they get focused on that, and all they start saying, woe is me, and all I'm doing, I'm just working my tail off trying to keep these kids up to snuff, and I'm just having a hard time with it. But if you change that paradigm and you look at it from a different angle and you say, you know what, I've been granted these children from God. I have a stewardship to fulfill. He first loved them, and I too can also love them the way He does and has. And if I make that change, I can see amazing things happen in my role as a father, as a mother, as a parent. And that can make a huge difference in how you approach yourself and how you parent your children. And I just want you to look very hard at that. Take a very careful look at yourself and how you feel about the role of parenthood, the role of fatherhood. And if you have negative feelings about it, you need to write it out, and you need to understand why it's negative. Was your father a bad father? Was he not a good father? Did he treat you poorly? Did you have a grandfather that was a negative influence on you? And is that why you don't like fatherhood? And do you feel like you can't do any good because your father was not so good? And if that's the reason, then we have some internal, emotional, some spiritual, some mental work to do within your own soul to be able to erase that and say, hey, I'm going to change how I feel about parenthood. I'm going to be a proactive parent. I'm going to go out and help my children. I'm going to serve them. I realize that I've been given a noble commission from God to bless these children's lives, and I can drastically change their outcomes and the way they feel about life by what I do as a parent now. And that can be so very critical if you can make that change in your mind and your heart. So that's step number 2. So the third and last step is I want you to start developing good habits that will erase all the bad habits we've had in the past. So Benjamin Franklin is very famous with establishing a program, and he would keep a calendar, and he would pick one thing that he wanted to change about himself, and he would spend 31 days focusing on that one thing that he did not like about himself, and he would change it in that 30 days time. And so that's what he would do. Now, it wasn't always perfect every time, but he had marvelous success doing that and became a very successful person because he had that practice of changing his habits. And so if you want to change as a father, take one thing that you know is holding you back, put it on your calendar, and you focus on that one thing, and you don't let anything else distract you from accomplishing that goal. And that's how you change those bad habits, and that's how you change about how you feel about yourself and about your children, and you focus on that. So I'm going to give you one example for me personally, and one of the things that I've done is I ask my children what they have learned that day. So when I come home from work, we're sitting at the dining table and we're eating dinner, I ask my children, what did they learn today? And this is one small way that I can help my children have a discussion with their father about what they learned in school, what they've been studying, what's important to them. And we can discuss it and we can talk over it. And it's a way that I can be a better father. And I've done it so much now, and I've focused so much on it that I do it all the time, and I do it without thinking. And it's a huge blessing for me and also for my children. So those are the three things. So just remember that. Change how you feel about your children, change how you feel about your role as a father or a mother, and then third, take Benjamin Franklin's method and start changing those bad habits. Take 30 days and start focusing on one thing that you can change. It can be small, it can be larger, but just focus on something until you perfect that trait or that habit or that behavior. This is Philip with Incredible Fathers. Glad to be with you. We'll talk to you next time.